everybody's success looks different.
We can't give away something we don't have ourselves.
Right. Accountability was key.
First of all, I want to say how excited I am to have Terrell Chestnut on this podcast. Our podcast is called Living the Sweet Life, as you guys know, and I've had the opportunity. So Alicia Almond was on a few weeks ago, and she connected me with Terrell, and I had the chance to talk to him just one time, and I knew he was somebody that I wanted to have in my life, to know, to learn from, to share with, to help each other, lift each other up. And so first of all, thank you for spending some time away from the people that mean the most to you, to be on this podcast. And I want to kind of give you the opportunity to introduce yourself, kind of tell us a little bit about kind of who you are, what you do, and then we'll dive into kind of your story, because it is a powerful story. So if you're tuning in via YouTube or Spotify or iTunes, stay tuned because Terrell is an example of what's possible, and resilience and strength and love and belief and all the things that are good. And so first of all, I'm honored to know you, but also thank you for being on. So I'll let you kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself first, and then we'll get into it.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me on here. Watching what you did with Alicia was super powerful. Being able to see the platform that you allow people to share their authentic self in a safe space. So appreciate that. Like you said, my name is Terrell Chestnut. I reside in San Diego, California. I'm originally from Philadelphia. I have two beautiful kids. My son is 3 years old, named Dallas. My daughter's 2, named Amara, and I have a beautiful fiance named Anitra. And it's my life has been chaos, but there's always been hope, right? I've always been able to find the silver lining and find that light at the end of the tunnel. And make something out of myself. So I've been extremely blessed to be able to turn tragedy into triumph, and it's just that's just been my story, is just to be able to overcome and persevere and makes the greatest batch of lemonade out of the lemons that I've been given.
Wow. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, just like I got the chills just hearing you say tragedy to triumph. We can't always control the things that happen to us, but we can always control how they impact us, and how we respond to them, how we use them, or how we let them use us. And so I want to, if you're okay, I kind of want to dive into a little bit of, obviously, the move from Philadelphia to California. It's a bit of a difference. So I want to kind of hear a little bit about kind of who made you, what made you the person that you are today. Kind of talk to me about your upbringing, and and obviously the NFL is part of your story. Speaking, there's a lot of different things that you do. I want to hear a little bit more about kind of how you're using your gifts to kind of impact the world as well. So tell me kind of upbringing, and is where you are now, did you see that as where you would be back when you were in Philadelphia?
So I was born in Philadelphia, but it was tough. My mom, when she had me, had 5 kids. I've had 4 kids prior to, so I was her 5th at the age of 23. Wow. As you can imagine, in the 90s, in poverty, how difficult that can be, and with a very abusive and controlling baby daddy for her, my dad. It was a very difficult upbringing where there was no stability. There was a lot of uncertainty, and it was just, we had to rely on each other, right? Myself and my siblings, and my mom was going through her own battle, right? As a young mother trying to figure things out. Thankfully we had people like my Aunt Donna who stepped in and allowed us to stay with her from time to time. And my grandmother who played such a significant role in my life. She was just, an angel on earth. I would like to put it, because she gave us that opportunity to have stability, love, and just, someone to hold on to and grasp, through the dark times. But in order to get to that light, we had to go through so much more dark, right? And I spent some time in foster care, just because of the notion that my dad was just so uncontrollable, abusive. We've gotten so many beatings, so many verbal abuses. There was times where, if we couldn't find shoes or certain things, his temperament was just so chaotic that we would get beaten for it. My brother he had a darker complexion than I had, and he was used to get the brunt of it because most of us are fairly light skinned. So for whatever reason, he got the brunt of those beatings, and him being a bigger brother, he always showed us. But we spent time in foster care in Willingboro, New Jersey, and the family was amazing. The Mosleys, amazing, and we were still able to have some sort of relationship with my mom, with my siblings, seeing other people in our family. But that it didn't come with its own, different challenges, right? We never had Christmas with wrapped gifts. We used to always get our gifts in a black trash bag, right? Because they would come from certain organizations or the system itself to provide a Christmas to us. So it was never anything that really just felt super genuine or super, like the gift meant something. It was just toys, a Walkman, things of that nature. But again, they was amazing. They gave us a home. We had a place to stay, clothes on our back, positive reinforcement, because I was up into the from the time I started school and with them, I was on the honor roll, but they always rewarded it. We always got money, so we always was going to the stores buying things, so it was fun. But in foster care, it was just me and my two brothers, Ryan and Don. My other two siblings, my other two sisters, they stayed back just because of the idea of sending teenage girls into the system. It just doesn't, the chances of them facing certain hardships in the system is more likely than not. So they kept the three boys together, and and my sister stayed with my family. So, but it was tough. But we had for those couple years that we were in foster care, it was amazing. Like we had a good time being around each other, making great friends. And then in 1999, my brother Don passed away at the age of 10. I was 8, and as you can imagine, us being so close in age, we did a lot of stuff together, right? Did everything together. I seen his first kiss. I seen, everything, right? We did everything together. And it was tough to see that change, and to be able to see him fighting and gasping for air before I went to go to bed because he had asthma, but not really understanding.
Yeah.
And waking up in the morning, he's not there. And we go to a place called the Presbyterian Children's Village in Philadelphia, where we met with social workers on a weekly basis, and that's where we got a chance to, have a space to see my mom and see my siblings, my cousins, whenever they wanted to come down, to tell us that my brother wasn't here anymore. It was tough, but I didn't understand it. First time I ever seen my older brother cry. So it was very, very crazy to imagine, to be able to see someone so full of life just taken at a young age. And things started changing at that moment, right? From there, our foster parents naturally carrying that burden of somebody passing away in their care. They didn't think they could continue to care for us, right? So my aunt, Donna, that I mentioned earlier, she stepped up and decided to take my brother and I in. So that's when we moved to a town right outside of Philadelphia called Pottstown, Pennsylvania. And she already had her kids. She was living in a 4-bedroom apartment, but we made it work. It's not the first time our kids and, my siblings and her kids were all blended into one house. We did it before in a smaller space. So living in Pottstown, my mom was around now. My grandmother was there. We had our cousins, but it was different. I didn't. The people were different. I wasn't. I was living in Jersey for 5 years prior to, so it was a lot different. I was doing bad in school now with that transition, and it was just I was with my aunt from 3rd grade to about the end of 5th grade. But again, it allowed us to restore that relationship with my mom and to continue to build. And ultimately allowed my mom to start building too, right? To heal. But then my aunt wanted to move. She wanted to move to a smaller space, and my grandmother, God bless her soul, she adopted us. Took us down to the court, signed the paperwork, and I remember the judge bringing my brother and I up to the bench and saying, like, listen, you have such an amazing woman standing behind you. Treat her right, always with respect, and just be kind to everybody. And those words constantly ring in my ear, because my grandmother was an amazing force on this earth, right? She gave us unconditional love. She gave us a place to call home. She gave my mom the opportunity to build and restore and to reshape her life, right, with her. And at the time, she had my youngest sister. So, during this time, it just was a lot. But I started to grieve. I never grieved my younger brother. My older brother died. I never grieved him. I never knew what grief was. So I started acting out in ways that are not me, right? Bullying people, like I said, doing bad in school, cussing, doing everything that's not really, indicative of who I am. And when I got to middle school, same thing. I failed sixth grade. Yeah, I got all F's on my report card, and I'm glad my mom wasn't really as savvy as she is now, because there's no way that a B on a report card is red. I was always changing my F's to B's, and she never caught on. And only way she knew was when I got left back. But that was probably the best moment, best thing that happened to me at that young age, because
Wow.
I had to learn that the world doesn't revolve around me. But also that there was a lot of people who are paying attention and who care about who I am as a person. So it unlocked a lot of things, because I met some amazing people when I got into middle school. Mr. Hamlet, Mr. Presley, one of my best friends, Preston, his father, took a real interest into me at a young age. And, they introduced me to football. That's how it came about. They were all playing. I didn't start playing until that second year, sixth grade. So my seventh grade year, bought me my first pair of cleats. Took me to every single practice. Took me to every single game. Besides my older brother, he was the positive male figure that I had needed in my life. And being able to see how he loved his family and how he cared for his family was just like, there was some envy, because I'm like, I know my family loves this, but I never had some people go out of their way for me the way he did. Looking at my report cards all the time, and it was magical for me, So, so a lot of stuff happened within the first 10 years, like 12, 13 years of my life. That just not typical for your average kid. And it was very difficult to navigate with the emotions, and going through puberty and going through a lot of things, like, because that was just one facet of my life where I went from a lot, at 10 years old, 8 years old, I dealt with death for the first time. I've moved so many times up from birth to having security with my grandmother at 12 years old. So it was jumping from house to house to house for 12 years. And it was very tough to be that kid. But again, as I said, through the darkness, there's always a light somewhere. And Mr. Hamlet was that light. Miss Hawthorne, who was the secretary, who was amazing. She scolded me because I got in a fight. I got in a fight in seventh grade. Kid called me the N-word, and I just lost it. I was a hothead. Had to go to anger management. Punched him in his face. Lip got caught in his braces, bled. He left, beat his friend up just because he was around. And I was kind of, I was flirting with that wrong side of the road. And she just looked at me. She like, you're too handsome. You're too smart to be doing all of these things. Mr. Algio, he's my 8th grade coach. Just preaching good things of life in me and just being a positive person. And that was a shift, seeing people really going out of their way to help somebody that just didn't really want to be helped. They seen potential in me, but what's potential if you really can't see it? And eighth grade was the big transformation because, seventh grade, I started playing eighth grade football with my friends. It was fun, but I still was doing bad in school. Eighth grade, they asked me, like, yo, like, your grades are terrible. Do you want to go to special ed? And I'm like, no, because in my mind, I was always like, special ed, I got to go on a short bus. I was really associating with things that weren't, true. The stigma that was associated with people that needed, help learning. And I knew I could do it. I just never applied myself.
It was an effort thing. Yeah.
At 1,000%, it was always said, effort is a battle between you and you. Mm-hmm. And that's one of my favorite things I say to younger people now. Like, if you can't look in that mirror and say that you've given it everything that you have, then you failed yourself. You can't blame anybody else. So it was, eighth grade was that turning point. Got back on honor roll. I'm in eighth grade playing freshman ball. And not just playing freshman ball, I'm really excelling. I'm, playing running back at the time. I'm averaging probably a buck 53 touchdowns every game. Like we was good. Varsity coaches looking at me. It's the first time that, I felt in control. I had friends. I had people that really loved me. My home was good. Grades was good. And I felt amazing. It felt really good. But there was still something in me that just knew that I was still suffering with certain things. Like, I just never really expressed how I felt. I never really had anybody come up to me, be like, yo, how are you really doing? It's easy for me to say I'm good. But, internally, I'm really still going through the motions, and just I have these distractions to deal with, just because in our culture, we don't talk about, how we feel. It's always keeping it pushing, going to the next thing. And it was difficult not to be able to express myself, or not knowing how to express myself. But, I kept going with it. At that time, it's, 12, it's 2007. I'm going into high school. And now it's go time. I'm a freshman playing varsity. And now everybody's looking at you. And, I had 11 interceptions my freshman year. I make all state, make all American. I do all these things. Get my first scholarship offer to Villanova as a freshman. Things are looking really good, right? But it just didn't feel good, because I know that that kid that went through all that stuff is still broken inside of me. That 10-year-old that was sexually abused by his cousin is still broken inside of me, right? Like it was tough, but those are things that I really never were able to voice, to speak on, and to really understand the consequences of that period of time, of the actions that it would create later down in life that will impact other people as well. I wasn't aware. I'm a kid. I couldn't really see it. As an adult looking back now, you look like, man, like I wish I could have, said X, Y, and Z. Like, this is what happening. I couldn't. Because I normalized those things in my mind, because it was happening so much. This must be normal. So when I act out in a certain way, like, it's just regular. This happened to me. This is how it's supposed to go down. Like, you don't think about the things, as an adult that you would as a kid. Is when you're going through those things. But yeah, again, I was a freshman playing varsity, 11 interceptions, scholarship offers, and then throughout high school, the rest was history. I got out of high school with 40 Division I scholarship offers. From all over around the country. From the LSU's to the Rutgers to the Michigans to the, you name it, I had it. It was, I was a top 5 player in the state of Pennsylvania, top 20 in the nation in my position. Like, it was really good for me. And, I didn't understand any of it. I just wanted to have all my friends. I did well in school, had a great coach in Coach Pennypacker, who really changed my life, right? He gave me the opportunity. We went to the same alma mater, West Virginia University, ironically, but he seen something in me. He pulled it out of me, and just helped mold me, right? But it was a lot of people that played that role at certain points in my life that just helped build me. Mr. Klotz gave me my first job, showed me what it's about to give back to the community, right? What it's like to really show people who you are in a manner where they can't question your integrity, your character. right? Miss Kakarika, who I met in 8th grade, who just, we still speak to this day, an amazing person, who just showed me so much kindness and love, that you still feel to this day. It's just was like, so many people that just had their hand in the pot that just was, adding their own little ingredients into what my success looks like. But it doesn't go without, the adversity that came. I tore my shoulder up in high school, had the surgery. 8 months later after that, in freshman year of college, had the same surgery twice. So my freshman year, mind you, I'm a 4-star coming out of high school, so it's a lot of hype behind my name. And that's when I first battled my first bout of depression, right? What I know is depression now, because I didn't, in college, I didn't really know no better. I 1.5 GPA. I'm not playing sports. First time really drinking, partying all the time, and just trying to be something that I'm not. But freshman year, had a lot of fun. Morgantown, West Virginia, I love it. I wasn't always like that though. When I first got on campus, I wanted to transfer within the first 15 minutes. I had been on campus for a 4 hour. I was calling coaches. I called Coach Ferrante over at Villanova. Like, yo, is there any way I can come back home and come to your campus? Because I hated it. It was such a culture shock. But again, we talk about people. Anthony Gutta, he changed everything for me. He's a Morgantown native. And he's just another one of those angels that we say walk on earth, because he showed me what's possible in that town. His family showed me love, kindness before they even knew who I was. And that's what changed my whole perception of that place, right? They just amazing. But yeah, I'm forever indebted to them, because I just went to his wedding in April, right? He just got married, and that's how close we still are. To be able to, we're talking about over 10 years of friendship, and I'm still speaking on the impact that he had in my journey, right? So yeah, like the Guttas, they changed my life. But my whole college career kind of is the same. If you look at my life, it started off bad, went good, went bad. It's just, I don't even say bad. It just was a lot of hardships.
Yeah.
Same thing. 2012. I didn't know anything about recruiting. So I'm not like, they bringing people in to take my spot, or, they're always constantly trying to get better. So we got the coaching staff, my defense coaches that recruited me, they left. So there was no safety for me. They brought in two freshman corners, and they liked them better than me. So 2012, they were starting them before me, and we were good. We were solid. My sophomore year, my freshman year, we started off 5-0, number 5 in the country, and then we lost 5 in a row. Then we finished 7-6. But I start my first college football game in 2012 against the University of Oklahoma. One of the greatest games I've ever been a part of. Tavon Austin, Geno Smith, they did the thing, Stedman Bailey. But end of that season, I tear my ACL. In the Pinstripe Bowl. Get surgery again. We're talking about 3 surgeries in 2 years. Right, had two in 2011, had one in 2012. Well, I guess it will be 2013 because it happened in January. But I remember my coach coming to me saying, I hope this isn't contagious, right? Saying that you hope that my injury is not going to impact, or it's going to be a ripple effect for other people. And I didn't know how to take that, right? We ended up being cool towards the end of my career, but that still sits in my head just because I'm fresh out of surgery. I'm coming up to a team and you say, I hope this is not contagious. Like it was crazy, but but I stuck it through. I stayed with it. 2013, Coach Mitchell, another coach that just changed my life. He's seen something in me. I remember in an interview, he said something about I probably was maybe 6 or 7 months out of my ACL surgery. And he was somebody that tore his ACL too. He had knee surgery, so he can relate. But he always said, you see the wisdom, you see the know-how, but you didn't know from athletic ability. If I was capable of doing certain things. So 2013, I decided to go to him and said, I will not play corner. Because I knew mentally physically I was fine. I was healthy. Mentally, I was fried with everything that was going on in my life. Mentally, I was fried. And he put me on all special teams. I went on a scout team, which a lot of people, looking back at it, a lot of people will look at it like, man, why would you go to scout team? That's dumb. I still traveled with the team. I still dressed. I was playing special teams. But I also was able to go against the best we had every day. So we're going against the Kevin Whites, the Mario Alfords, who were both drafted into the NFL every day to be able to perfect my craft. On top of that, now I'm still doing my drills with my group. I'm getting them ready for games because I know my ability. I'm super confident in me. They're not going to see another me going against them, with the exception of like a Jason Verrett who went to TCU, who was amazing. But you're not going to see that type of competition every day. You're just not. You go down there. They call me ACL lockdown. I was playing in a knee brace. But in that moment, I locked in. I honed into my craft. I became a technician. And in 2014, it was like a breath of fresh air because now I'm competing for a starting spot. I was somebody that was at the bottom of the depth chart. Now I'm competing for a starting spot against my peers, against the upperclassmen. And then 2014, first game of the season playing against Alabama, I'm starting. And it's big time. Chick-fil-A Kickoff Bowl, Amari Cooper, Derrick Henry, all those guys. We're now we playing ball. And that was just like it was it. It was time. And I had a good season. Statistically, I could have I dropped 3 or 4 interceptions, but I had a fumble recovery for a touchdown, a lot of tackles. But it was something that transcended me into, having a really good senior year, which I did. 5 interceptions, forced fumbles, pick sixes, touchdowns, everything, which gave me the opportunity to go to the NFL, right? Which was far-fetched at the time. And I wholeheartedly believe that had I not had the injury history that I did, I would have been drafted instead of signing an undrafted free agent contract. Like, I think the 3 surgeries within that time, they're looking at like, oh, he's damaged goods, but we can get him cheaper in a free agency versus drafting him. Now we got to owe him, but I got the opportunity to sign one with the Chargers, but again, my highs get too high, and blew my hamstring out, and I was like, I'm done. Within that same time, right before I tore my hamstring, my grandmother passed away. And she had her bout with lung cancer, and then she beat it, and then she developed COPD, and maybe 2 days before she passed away, she called me late night, and my grandmother's always sleep early, up at 4, but she called me around midnight, and I'm like, "What you doing up?" Like, looking back at it, maybe her spirit knew, maybe something, but she was calling me, we talking. I'm hanging out with my now fiance. At the time, we're pitting us. Well, she was putting it together. She got a green thumb, but she was putting this desk together, and my grandmother. We were on the phone for maybe 30, 45 minutes. She was full of energy, full of life. 2 days later, I get the call that she passed away, and as you can imagine, just broke my heart. But again, it was one of the perks of, not a perk, but one of the benefits of, if you get hurt, in the NFL, and it's during regular season, they place you on IR, you still get paid, right? Still get paid. So, I got my first check. It was $12,000. Most money I've ever had at one time in my life, $12,000.
Yeah.
And I was able to put a significant amount towards her funeral.
Wow.
And I remember my Aunt Debbie coming to me, because at first I only put $1,500. I'm like, she has life insurance. $1,500 is I think was what they asked for. They were supposed to be raising money or doing something to put towards the cost. It never happened, right? Or the money that was raised was kept by somebody. I'm not gonna put them out there, but it was kept. But cool, y'all need another one so we can, here's the rest of the money. Let's give her a good funeral, and it's that, we buried her. And I remember somebody coming up to me and just saying, thank you. And I'm like, I don't do any of this for the recognition or the thanks. Like, that was my savior. Like, she saved me. She saved me and my brother. She helped restore that relationship between myself and my mom and my brother, and just allowing us to have that relationship to make up for the time that we lost. Like, you don't owe me a thanks, but it was cool. So, but it was tough. That was my baby. That was my heart.
Yeah.
But it was, again, I let my highs get too high. Then, I didn't grieve her death. I tried to stay busy.
Sure.
I went back to Morgantown to finish school, finish my master's, and I was technically like a graduate assistant, but wasn't a GA. I was helping with the strength and conditioning team. Although my heart was more so with my position, but it was the only way they can get me in the door. But I was just too far gone mentally that I couldn't really give everything I could to them. My heart was here. I was still dating my now fiance, even though she was in San Diego. My heart was still here. I was there. I was just too torn. But I was depressed, in a very deep depression. And this time I knew it. Like, I knew.
Yeah.
So February 2017, I just up and left. I left Morgantown. I didn't even pack my house up. It's probably still stuff in my friend, because my friend Gutta, his family owns a lot of properties out there. They let me rent it. It's probably still in storage there, to be honest. It's probably still in storage. Like, I left both my TVs. I left everything, clothes, shoes, everything. I left. I packed a suitcase and I moved here to California. And yeah, it was. My fiance was in school still, so she'll be in school. I'll wake up at 1:00 in the 1:00 in the afternoon. Stay in a room. I go eat. Stay in a room. She get home. That's when we'll leave and go do something. I did that for about four months straight, and super depressed. And then I got the urge to start training again, to try to make one more push for the NFL. I had a tryout at it's a pro player combine. I had it in Phoenix. It was July of 2017. And I think I did well. I think my 40 time could have been better. My 40 years that day, it was like maybe 4 or 5 mid. But drill work, I did well. But I had teams that were interested. And we go to Las Vegas. I have a very severe shellfish allergy. And we go to Las Vegas. My fiance, she's Lao. We go to a Lao store and we eat pho. And I don't, so it's not a restaurant, but, it could have been cross-contamination. I could have eaten something that I wasn't supposed to, but had a bad reaction to it and attacked my thyroid, and I lost 30 pounds in a little over a month. Oh. So I went from 197 to about 161. Skinny, frail, sick. I looked sick. And that's when I knew, I'm done with football. I'm done with everything. But I was at a low, another depression, had a lot of anxiety at that time. But I think that's just my body was telling me, like, you got to resolve a lot of these things, but I never really paid attention to it.
Yeah.
So the rest of 2017, I'm healing. I'm going through that stuff. Now I'm working a 9 to 5, which was very humbling. I was at LPL Financial. I was at the call center. So now, I'm going from making $19,000 a week to $19 an hour. Huge difference.
Yeah.
Difference. And I didn't have a plan, so it wasn't like I was putting my money where it needed to be able to multiply. I was paying for, just for stuff out here. I was sending money back home. I was just blowing through it. But I went from $19,000 a week to $19 an hour. That's roughly $40,000 a year. And it was humbling. Very humbling, but I stood it out there. I was with the company for maybe 7 years, but I got with them in 2017. In 2018, again, everything was coasting, everything was good. 2018, I lost my other brother. He was 31 years old. He had a history of seizures. I had his first one in 2011, and yeah, that one hurt. That one hurt a lot because that was my best friend. That was my protector. My provider. He was my father figure that I needed to navigate this life.
Yeah.
Put himself through school. Was such an outstanding individual in the community. Respected by everybody. Whenever he walked in a room, he owned it. And that's just the type of guy that he was. Give you the shirt off his back. And when I lost him, it was I remember the day I woke up. My fiance just went to Spain. She was in Barcelona for 2 months to study abroad. I dropped her off at the airport in LAX. She was there for maybe 3 days before he passed. I got that call. He was staying with his best friend's mom. They had a bigger house, and I couldn't hear anything she was saying. She was hysterical. Only thing I can make out was he's cold, and I just knew. I just knew. I called my fiance back and told her what was going on, and I'm in shambles. And it was this one moment in the airport when I'm flying back that night, and I'm just I'm trying to hold it together. I break down and cry. Those 2 instances, and this lady put her arm around me and said everything's gonna be okay. The most warmth thing I've ever felt in my life. And I look up, she was gone. She was out of there. I don't know where she went. And then there was another guy on the plane who was just comforting, I never met this guy a day in my life, sent money to Venmo to, hey, you better go to a funeral here, go buy a nice shirt, go do this. Just like never experienced it, I feel like that's all him, that's all God to be able to provide that comfort during that most distraught time, because I never envisioned life without him. Right, I just felt like we gonna have a house next to each other. We gonna, our kids gonna rate, they're gonna see how amazing of an uncle you are. Our kids gonna grow up together, everything. And that one, and still to this day stings. It's been 6 years, I think, now to think about it. Went by that fast, but losing him just really took a lot out of me. So it was, I probably took about 3 months off, and at that time I wasn't with the company for more than a year, so I didn't qualify for FMLA, so I wasn't paid. I wasn't getting paid from the company. I used all my PTO, wasn't getting paid, but I needed it. I had to grieve, but it was tough. It was really tough to navigate that, but some good came out of it though, because I was able to figure out who I was as a man, to understand that he's always a part of this journey. Best thing that's ever happened to me was my kids, to keep my sanity, because I didn't have no direction. I didn't have a purpose. We just was living happily. We had a good relationship. Obviously we're engaged now, but after my brother, we just kind of, I felt like the motion was just going right. We just living life, working, and spend a lot of time. Again, our highs are high. We're going good, and then during COVID, I think it was either 2020, right when COVID happened, or when was it? But my fiance got pregnant, and super excited. I'm at work. She's telling me like, "Oh yeah," and then she said she was feeling weird. She was spotting. So we go to the ER. They were telling. We thought it was a miscarriage. They're like, "No, you didn't miscarry. But if your levels keep going up, like you're still pregnant, then you might need to go see an OBGYN." Well, her levels, I forget what they call it, doubled. So then she's still pregnant. So we go to OBGYN. She has ectopic pregnancy. So we had to get emergency surgery. And that was hard to swallow, right? We decided for a kid. And then that happens. And then 2 years later, we have another kid. We have a successful pregnancy. But at the time, I was facing everything. I had to do, I had to had to deal with a lot, as I said before, during my abuse, the aftermath of, what I deemed normal when I acted out. I had to face that music of how my actions impacted other people. And I had to go through that. I had to, a lot of difficult times, a lot of relationships severed because of that. And as that kid, forever, that kid that was abused in me, right? That child that was abused by my cousin, was had to heal.
Yeah.
Had to heal, had to learn how to forgive and let go. But, one of the things I never really could come to terms with is my, the issues and the hurt I caused too. Like, I've never been ignorant about it. But again, I wasn't, aware of the impact, and never really had the opportunity to speak on it and internalize it and truly apologize for it, just because a lot of things just went real fast. But it's just things I've been working on.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those, I don't regret things in life, but I do, feel extremely bad for anything that I've ever caused any harm to anybody. But again, it was things that I had to relive, to learn, to heal, to become a better version of myself, to be a better father, a better partner. And we weathered that storm. It was tough. It was a tough year of anguish and, reliving those moments and going back and seeing things like and we're not just talking about that particular moment. We're talking about everything that's ever happened in my life that I had to really heal from birth till I was an adult. Seeing, and, my mom, we never talked about it. And I don't like to put her business out there before, but one of the things I think we mentioned on the phone was the one day that she tried to commit suicide in front of me. And we never talked about it. I never really voiced it out to anybody. But again, it's one of the things I really want to highlight in my mother is that she's a strong individual to be able to reclaim her life and turn her life into what she considers success. So yeah, it's just I got therapy for the first time in my life and made the difference. Right, I went and I was in a group therapy session where there was a lot of male survivors, and this shit changed me, changed my mind, changed my heart, allowed me to really express myself when things are wrong. So it was amazing, and during that time, I, made some great connections, and that family took care of me. Right, a friend of mine, his mom, CEO of the company, gave me the opportunity to come over to SAC and be a part of their team and be part of their client relations department, which is what I do now, and changed my life too. Changed my the time I was making after I left the LP, I was probably making 70,000. They gave me the opportunity to make significantly more than that. Make the relationships, the connections. Obviously, yourself, Alicia. Reggie, who's one of the speakers that always speaks at some of these HFMA events, was never possible without coming down this avenue and this alley. So I've been extremely blessed. Despite everything I've been through, the hard times, the good, I've been extremely blessed to be able to still be here physically, mentally, emotionally, to now be able to share my story in hopes to make an impact and change people's lives as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, man, you've given me so much, to think about. And honestly, I talk about a lot of things that I hope other people, that it makes an insight. It kind of creates an insight for them, or it makes an impact on them. But truthfully, the power of you living out and being an example of all of these things that people say, you're what you kind of started off with the triumph to tragedy. a lot of people, I hear pain to purpose, I hear wounds to wisdom, all these things. But to hear you be able to recall all of you, that all the things that have had the opportunity to shape you, that most often would have broken most people that I know. But for you now to be in a place to where you realize it shaped you to be the person that you are today, like that's transformative. That's transcendent. That's so powerful. And the highs and the lows and the way that you talk about them, I know that's not, it felt every bit of the high and every bit of the low. But your courage and your resilience, and I just want to call out some of these things that I'm just more inspired by, truthfully, while you're telling me your story, because oftentimes when you have the highs and the lows, there's kind of a victim sense of that, of, man, I thought we were past the lows. But the reality of life is it is both. And this thought and this saying is not meant to discredit any of it. It's actually supposed to be some hope, but this idea of this too shall pass.
Absolutely.
And your examples of things were really great for a minute, for a while, for a chapter, for a year, for a couple of years, for a season, and then it wasn't. But, just hearing you talk about how, and the thing that I love about this too, is it really empowers, hopefully, everybody listening to this. You kept talking about people that saw you, not what you could do for them, not how you could help them do something, but they saw you and they wanted to help you. But there was something in you already that they saw that they helped you see. And its value, its worthiness, its abilities, its gifts. And I hope that people hear like all the different names that you mentioned that helped. And you even said multiple times, they changed your life. They gave you hope. They changed your trajectory. Like we all have that opportunity to do that. And that's why we do this podcast. That's why we create this space, is for people to one, be inspired by that, but two, now to hear that you want to be that for other people, because so many other people have done that for you. And one of the things we talked about is you speaking and you going out and sharing your story, and you're going to speak to people in a way that they're going to see themselves in your story. And then they are going to believe that something different is possible for them.
Right.
But that's only from you having people, but also you putting in the work, you putting in the time, you rededicating, you believing in yourself, like all of these moments. It wasn't just that they came along like the when the secretary got on you about fighting, right? It's not like nothing changed about you besides how you saw yourself.
Right.
And that's the super powerful thing that I know you're going to do. And I'm grateful I get to know you and show up for you and share things with you as well, just because I know that's what we need more of. We don't need more of the show. We need more of the presence and the reality and the authenticity. And, your healing chapter too is another thing I want to kind of lean on a little bit is, there's a lot of wisdom that comes from going through some pretty tragic things. But for you to own the healing chapter never really ends. And I'm a firm believer that we all have things we're healing from. And I think sometimes there's pressure to be healed versus the grace and the power of healing and giving yourself the space to do that. Does that resonate at all with you? Just thinking about, you didn't really have much of a, if you will, a father figure to now emulate to raise your kids.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about, that healing part, but then also how are you intentionally, because I can see you're already a great dad. I can see that. The way you talk about them and the way that you create space for them and just the patience that you have and wanting to record this only when they're napping, right? So tell me about that healing, and also how are you showing up as a dad, and how are you kind of giving yourself the grace in moments that it's not always perfect, because it never is, I'm sure, being a dad. But Tell me about those two things.
I think one of the biggest things was I could kind of go back what you were saying earlier. I had to stop looking at myself as a victim, right? I had to remove that mindset, and understanding that I'm not going through it anymore. I'm in the survivor phase, as you would call it, but
Yeah.
the healing phase, and I know I can't be the best version of me still being in that victim mentality, right? My kids deserve to be seen, heard, loved, and I can't do that if I don't do that to myself. You know,
Wow.
I didn't have my father show up for me in anything in my life. Like the one time, he passed away in 2005. Passed away 2005. I had the opportunity to see him, but I turned it down. And to protect myself. And I never want my children to feel what it's like to not have somebody show up to them. Like me and my fiance, we do an amazing job of parenting and raising our children. And I just want them to see, the way I love them, the way I love their mother, is the way that we're going to navigate this thing we call life. Because it's no chance in this world that I would ever not be there for my children. They changed my life. They saved my life. They even when we get frustrated or upset that they do certain things, they're fighting, they get overstimulated. They just love you so much, right? And the way they look at you, the way they try to copy you, emulate you. It's the most flattering thing that you can have for a kid to be able to, to love you like that, to be able to feel pure, genuine love. And although I didn't have that father figure directly, I've seen some amazing parents raise their kids. I
Sure.
talk about Mr. Hamlet and the way he loved, his kids, the way he loved his wife. That's a role model that, I'll always have. God rest his soul. He was the epitome of a gentleman. He was a gentle giant, right? He larger than life type of guy. And I can always look at how he raised his kids, how he raised Preston, and his sisters, Diamond and Jade, to be amazing individuals. And that's what I want for my kids, right? To be able to give them everything that I didn't have, but also give them all of me. So my fiance can give them all of herself. And it's really, my fiance is another one of those individuals who changed my life, right? I feel like she's a bigger protector of me than I am of myself. So
Sure.
it's,
Sure.
uh, she's the first one to try to fight for me if I ever get in an argument. Like, she's just one of them ones. So she challenges me every day. She holds me accountable, and I think that's also what makes me strive to be the best dad that I can, because makes me better.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's all about people, right? And as we talk about connections, and, there isn't a single person that comes across our path on accident.
Right.
We don't know how long they're going to be with us, but we know they're meant to be with us when they were and when they are. And that's sometimes heavy and sometimes not, right? Because again, you don't have everybody that you thought you were going to have in your life for as long as you wanted them. But one of the things that I really want to honor too, and kind of call out again, like like a lot of the things that I say out loud, like it's really empowering. But then whenever I hear you actually lived every single one of these things that I think about and talk about and share, I mean, we all have our own version of adversity and our own tragedy and all the things. So it is, everybody kind of has their relatability to these things. But when I think about, fault and responsibility, right? So what you just described and kind of talked about with you and your kids and you and your life and the way the impact you want to have is, it's not your fault that the things happen to you that happen, right? The injuries, the devastation, the loss, all of those things. Like, it's not your fault that anything happened, but you've taken the responsibility piece of it. Right. And so often what I see is something happened to me, so now it shaped me. So then now I'm going to be the same thing or I'm going to fall down a path. And again, we all have moments where we may dip in a path, like you said, right? We all have those moments, but you're like such a great personified example of taking responsibility. It's also not ignoring that the things happen. And that's the thing I really also really respect and admire about you is you don't forget and you're not acting like those things never happened. You've just decided I'm going to take responsibility for how those things impact me today.
Right.
Not necessarily how they impacted you then, because that's just human. Mm-hmm. But like the strength and the personal character to say, you know what? And oftentimes, right, this is another analogy I'm going to say here because it's I know you just a little bit to be able to say this with confidence. Most of the things that you have talked about would have buried most people.
1,000%.
And even in the moments, because you said the darkness and the light a couple times. But what I actually, the way I want to, and again, I hope I don't simplify this in any sort of way because that's not my intent. My intent is really just to speak life about the feeling of darkness. Mm-hmm. So in this plant analogy, so in the moments where you feel like you're being buried, you've just been planted. And that you are, again, that example of like, that's another thing I say. But for somebody who's been through so much, like when you were 13, you'd been through a lifetime of things. And yet you are still here on purpose, for a purpose, living in your purpose, wanting to share your purpose. That's incredible. Again, this is like the people that I get to meet in my life, like make me a better person.
Right.
And you make me a better person. Just getting to hear your story and hear everything you've gone through, but also to know the kind, considerate, patient, smart, successful, right? All these list of things that I know about you. And I've only had two conversations with you, you know? But I know you're also just getting started.
Absolutely.
You know, but the resilience and courage that you have to kind of lean in, even when things are hard, and you're not afraid for the high moments because you're not also, and maybe this is part of it too, right? You may be thinking, I hope another low doesn't come, but I can only imagine how you've been through so much that there probably isn't much that you don't feel like you can overcome.
That's accurate. One of the things, I always say I'm built for it. But it doesn't, mean I want to endure it again. Right.
No.
No. But the things that help me is just, I really, no matter what the situation is, I just really embrace it, whether it's high or low. Right. If it's a low, then I'm a claw my way out of it. But also what I try to do is just, I acknowledge the things that I've been through.
Yeah.
But it doesn't do me a service of living in that past, right? Because
that's powerful too.
I can't continue to just look out the rearview mirror and miss everything that's happened in front of me. And I lived in that rearview mirror for much of my life, of harping on the past. That's why I really appreciate what they do with our firm is, we had a team training last year in Burbank that really just focuses on being in the moment, being in the present, to really be your true authentic self. Because I can't change what just happened 5 minutes ago. It happened.
Yeah.
I can only control what's happening right now. And what happens right now is only going to transcend and affect what's going to happen tomorrow. And taking the right steps to be successful. Because everybody, again, I mentioned it before, everybody's success looks different.
Yeah.
And it's all about what you want in life. And for me, I have, this ideology of giving my kids and creating generational wealth and, creating something that's going to be it's going to be here hundreds of years after I'm gone. And that's I really think through my words it's going to allow me to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're doing that. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's something that you want, but you're also doing that. And the way that you're just showing up, again, the most significant thing that we can do for each other, especially, I can't imagine, I don't have kids yet. And, I don't have a fiance yet. I'm not married yet. You're already further down the path with all those things than I am. But the way that you show up for them is the most significant thing because they're learning how to show up for others. but how you show up for them.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's the most valuable thing that I think we can do as humans for each other, is just show up without the need for something back. And it's just show up in presence and in love and in compassion. And yes, there's accountability that goes with that. And yes, there's challenging that goes with that, only because, there's another thing. So I'm a people leader as well. So there's another little thing that I like to really think about, of which all those people I think in your life that have come along, and the people that will continue to come along, if you start to see people and treat people as they could be, they'll start acting like they should be.
That's tough. That's powerful.
So when you start to see people for everything that they could be, like all those people who kind of came along for you and all these people who came along for me, they start to then start acting like they should. And it comes from this place of belief and love and patience and presence. Not easy, not letting people get away with everything. It's actually, I want people in my life who hold me accountable. And I do. I have a lot of great people in my life that hold me accountable. When I say I'm going to do something, they ask me if I'm going to. They, all these different things. But they do that because they know it means something to me,
right,
not because I'm trying to earn something from them.
Absolutely. And that's like, I got into coaching. I came out here, and it's the reason why I stopped, because it was I was with a program out here in San Diego, and the accountability lacked, right? And I'm somebody that understands the power behind having good people, good coaches that are holding you accountable, because this stuff is, the sport, especially in high school, the sport is just it's fun. You can get something out of it, but it's fun. But it's also preparing you for life. It's giving you, it's instilling in you a work ethic, learning how to work as a team. But it's also understanding that there's consequences for every action. So when they were they would discipline, they were going to discipline these kids. Oh, I'm gonna make you run. I'm gonna make you do this, and nothing happened. And I'm very open. I expressed this to the head coach at the time. I said, "You saying this to them and nothing happens, your word means absolutely nothing." So then when you come in, either F these kids, or you're mad and do everything, and they looking at you like you're a joke, that's the exact reason why. If you can't, and as a parent now, I don't want to put my kid in a program where they're not going to be held accountable. Because in my household, accountability is everything. It's nothing that I can do wrong, and my fiance, that she's gonna call me out on it every time, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Because I want, now if she goes out the street, she act a donkey, I'm gonna back you up every time. Why you out there? But once we get back to the house, we gotta have a conversation about what you did wrong, why'd you did it, because that wasn't cool. But out there, you 100% right every time. But when we get home, we gonna figure this out and make sure it doesn't happen again. But accountability is everything, right? And I was blessed to be spoiled by, two amazing programs with the Chargers, and then with being in West Virginia, where accountability was key, right? Structure was key. But that's one of the accountability lacks in a lot of times. So when you got amazing people to hold you accountable, like the people in your life, you're already one up ahead of the game.
So this is kind of the last little point that I just kind of want to bring up too, just because it is something that has really been transformative for me. But I kind of grew up with my own view of this. It wasn't actual real, but I just didn't really communicate it much. But I felt like my performance and my diligence and my discipline was what I needed to do to earn love. And an example of this that's a little like bigger now is I want to provide love and support and encouragement for every single person. Obviously, the people that are really, really close to me, like they're always going to have my love and they're never going to have to earn it. Mm-hmm. So my accountability doesn't come from if you do this, if you succeed, if you accomplish everything, then my love is always.
Right.
And so my love sometimes will be through accountability to remind us of what they said they wanted, or to encourage us, or to believe in people. So accountability through belief and love is powerful.
Absolutely.
But but you're also, again, I can see already, I've had a couple opportunities to see your kiddos on the call, or at least Alice. But your love for them being always is going to create certainty for them to where then they're going to be free to perform.
Right.
They're not going to feel the pressure to perform.
Right.
To earn your love.
Right.
And that's powerful. I mean, that's showing up, right? And so I just wanted to call that out and honor you for that too, because hopefully again people that are watching this and kind of as we wrap up, so as people are watching this and listening to this and hearing your story and everything you've overcome and the type of person you are today, I hope they just have a little bit more of self-reflection, some insight. Maybe they embrace their healing chapter with a little bit more love, a little bit more grace towards themselves. Again, we can't give away something we don't have ourselves.
Right.
And we want to be able to be more loving and more gracious with other people in our lives, but it starts with you kind of loving yourself and being more gracious for yourself. And you've, again, I commend you, I admire you, I respect everything that you've done, everything you're doing and everything you're going to do. And, I want to show up for you in any way that I can. I've told you that twice now. I've been on a couple calls with you, but showing up really just means whatever that means, right, for you, and with intention, not how I think you want me to show up. And so, but I appreciate you, and I know people listening to this are going to be able to hear and see themselves in their story and your story, and then kind of also hopefully put their chin back up and maybe bring their shoulders back and think, how can I have the same impact that other people had in your life? But then also, how can you continue to live your life in a way that you're proud of, in a way that you feel good about, in the way that you've actually living with intention.
Right.
And kind of while you're still healing, you can also still live with intention and still love while you're still healing. And that's really powerful. And I appreciate you being vulnerable and being in this space and sharing yourself and your story. And so thank you. Thank you for that.
I appreciate you giving me this platform. It's been powerful because again, it's one of the things I'm continuing working on is being vulnerable, being open, because it's just one person out there that you might impact and change their life that might be going to something similar, and allowing me to continue to heal. Right, this is another portion of my healing. Right, to be able to share it to an unknown audience. Right, you and I just met, so this is it's different territory for me. Before I used to be. I'll close off. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to speak on this, but I give you all of this. And to be able to freely share all the highs, all the lows, all the adversity I had to face, but also being able to highlight, the success I had, success I was able to make, the life I was able to make for myself, being able to provide for my kids and my fiance, and to, give them all of that on this platform, and just to highlight those things. I really appreciate it, because this is just a start for me, right?
Yep.
It's whether it's, whether it's podcasting, whether it's speaking on stage, because I want to be a keynote speaker. I'm trying to, I want to go on stage and wow people. I want to make everlasting impact. So I'm hoping that, that I'm not hoping it will happen, right? It's going to happen. It's just not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And this platform is definitely helping that, but it's just, again, another journey for me to heal, to give my kids the best version of myself, and allow myself to make change in other people's lives.
Yeah. Well, I fully believe in you. I believe in the impact you're going to have. I'm already excited, like literally just having the chills as you're talking about going on stage, thinking about, I'm already envisioning somebody sitting in the crowd listening to your story and you transforming their life. That I know for sure.
That would be amazing. It's when I spoke at my brother's funeral, one of the things I said was imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Right? To be able to emulate and imitate and just give back. The only thing I'm doing is reciprocating the love and the care and the nurturing that I receive from the people that believed in me. So being able to give back and speak and share my truth of who I am, the only way that I can honestly give and ever repay them back, meaning in showing them that what they said and what they did really meant something to me. And it's the only way I can do it. It's nothing monetarily or physical, nothing tangible. No tangible item I can give them that would ever repay them for changing and shifting my heart.
Yeah. Well, both of us are in this space of sharing our messages, sharing our adversity and our and triumphs, and like I said, we each kind of have our own different paths.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that I do it, and in the way that you just said it, is in gratitude for them for the rest of my life. That's the only way that I know how to actually try to even maybe quantify the impact they had in my life.
Absolutely.
And so now it's everything I do is in gratitude for all of those people that have loved me, shown up for me, challenged me, shaped me, every one of them. And so now it's in that purpose, in gratitude, that both of us are going to go out and continue to do that. And I'd love to share the stage with you. We're going to have an event. We're going to be on stage. We're actually going to meet in person.
Let's do it.
And we're going to do this thing, man. We both have messages that are they're going to be great for people to hear and honestly make the world a better place. One person at a time, one mindset at a time. But really, it's not through glitz and glamour. It's through presence and love and vulnerability and honesty. And it's all the things that we all have inside of us. We just have to find a way to create that space for other people to feel confident in that too. And again, you are living that out, and I appreciate you. And but yeah, so as we wrap up, I just want to say thank you for being on the show. Thank you for being on the podcast here. But more, thank you for being yourself, for loving yourself enough to give yourself this space to for the healing that you've done. And I respect you and I admire you. And I look forward to getting to talk to you more in the many years. I don't know how many years we get to have, but in the many years, continuing to lift each other up and making the difference in the world that both of us, especially the difference in the world that you want to make. I know you're going to make it, and I would be honored and be happy to kind of watch and see and kind of fan your flame as much as I can, man, because I believe in you and I'm excited for you.
I appreciate it. Yeah, man. We're both going to do some special things, man, and
yep.
Both individually and together. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's you know, I plan on coming out to the lake and seeing everybody in person, but this is just the start of many great things for the both of us. This platform is dope, man. You're a great active listener, because a lot of people out ever does things, but they be losing me. But the fact that you were able to catch a lot of the small details was meant a lot. Because again, like I said on the phone one time, I'm simple. I want to be heard. If I'm heard, I'm seen. If I'm seen, I'm appreciated. That's it.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, my guy.
Yeah, I appreciate you too, Terrell. Thank you, man.
Absolutely.